Welcome to class 8 of 15 days TCS Intuitive Cracker. Today I'm back with few more questions from statement based and Venn diagram based subsections. Today we are going to finish up the logical section, and this Friday we are going to revise the numerical ability and logical ability questions. So please tune in for the revision classes. So let us start with the questions for today. So what we have to do in the statement-based question, so let us first understand the question and then we will decide that what we have to do. So in the statement-based question, you are giving particular set of statements, and from this statement you have to find an implication or you have to answer few more questions. These kinds of question we have already done, like this similar type of questions we have already done in the previous few sections. These questions are similar, but they are little bit different from the other questions. So let us see how they are different. So let us consider the following three statements. And we assume that all these three statements are absolutely correct. So what they are saying is that those who like paintings like flowers. So let us assume that we have a set of people liking painting, and those who like painting, they also like flowers. So we can draw a subset like this. This smaller circle stands for people liking painting, and this larger subsection stands for people liking flowers. Fine. So everybody or anybody who likes painting also like flowers, but the inverse is not true. I can say that this person who likes flower does not like painting. So this first statement can be represented using this particular diagram. Now let us look into the second statement. Those who like music. Those who like running like music. So I can say that music is a greater subset and running is a smaller subset. So those who like running also like music, but vice versa cannot be said for sure. Now we come to the third statement. Those who do not like music do not like flowers. The people who do not like music do not like flowers also. So let us think like how this statement can be represented. The first two statement represents the following two diagrams, like this for the first thing and this for the second one. So these two diagrams represent the first two statement, and the third statement is going to mix these two diagrams to give you a final result. So let's see. So those who do not like music do not like flowers. Those who do not like music do not like flowers. So how we can represent this particular thing? Fine. Let us look into the first thing. Those who like paintings. Those who like paintings like flowers. Those who like paintings like flowers. So how we can draw this diagram? We can make a very large section for music. This is the large section for music. Fine. Now I'm saying that I'm saying that like those who do not like music do not like flowers. So flower is going to be a subset. So this will be for flowers. And from the above relation, we know inside flowers we have paintings. This stands for painting. Now, what about running? Those who like running also like music. So running should be inside this circle. So what are the possibilities where I can draw this running thing? I can draw running here. I can draw running anywhere. So I will draw running. Now, whenever you're unsure, whenever you're unsure, or if it is not mentioned explicitly, you always have to make an overlap. It is not mentioned explicitly, like those who like running, if they like flower, if they like painting or not. So that is why I have done an overlapping here. Maybe this is an overlap, maybe this overlap results to zero, I do not know. So remember always, whenever it is not mentioned explicitly, please make an overlap. So now let us go into the conclusions that can be drawn. Those who like running, those who like flowers. Fine. So this cannot be said with certainty, because if I take a person from this part of this set or from this part of the Venn diagram, I can say that this person like running, but this person does not like flower. So this first statement cannot be concluded for certain. So this cannot be concluded. Now let us go to the next one. Those who like painting, those who like music also. So this is very evident. If I take a person from this part, this person like paintings and this person will always like music. So this statement can be concluded. Those who like flowers do not like running. Again, we have to find a counter example for that. If we find a counter example for a particular statement, we can say that if that statement can be concluded or not. So let us imagine this portion. So if I imagine a person from this particular segment, this person like flower and this person also like running. So I really cannot conclude this one. Now let us go to the fourth statement. Those who like running do not like painting. Those who like running do not like painting. So if I take a person from this particular subsection, I can say that that person both like painting and running. So this statement cannot be concluded. Now, last sentence. Those who like painting like running. Those who like painting like running. So, like if this is the full segment for painting, and if I take a person from here, I can say that this person like painting, but this person does not like running. So this statement cannot also be concluded. So out of this five statement, only the second statement can be concluded successfully, and this is going to be our correct result. So I hope this question was clear to you. So this is similar to the set-based question that we have done, and there is another like truth and lie questions that we are going to do in this particular section. So let us see. So now we have this thing. This is kind of an arrangement question. Fine. What they are saying is that there are three brothers. One brother is J, name of other brother is K, and name of another brother is N. There are three brothers. Like we have like three people here. So let us assume that this person is N. Let us assume that this person is K. And let us assume that this person is J. And the following statement about them are all true. So these are the three true statements that can be made for these three brothers. Now you have to arrange these siblings from oldest to youngest. So this is kind of an arrangement question that we have already done. So let us try that if we can arrange them or not. So let us make a blocks. Let us make a block. There are three brothers, so there will be three subsections. This is one subsection and this is another subsection. And let us assume that this subsection is reserved for the oldest brother and this is reserved for the youngest one. Fine. J is not the youngest. J is not the youngest. So J can come here and J can come here. K is the oldest. K is the oldest. It is said so K will come here, definitely. N is not the oldest. So actually I misread this one. J is not the youngest. So if J is not the youngest, J can come like J can come in the first position and J can come in the second position. Like J can be the oldest and J can be the middle one. But here they are saying that K is the oldest. So K will come here. And if K comes here, J is not the oldest one. So J have to be the middle one. And we are left with only N. So N will be the youngest one. N is not the oldest. So N is the youngest. So K is the oldest brother, J is the middlemost brother, and N is the youngest brother. And we have arranged all the siblings according to their age. So this was a simple question. So now let us go to a tricky question. This is a small question, but it is a little bit tricky question. So they're saying that there are three statements. Now, what is the property for these three statements? We actually don't know how many of these statements are true and how many of these statements are false. And depending upon the relationship and depending upon the dependency of the statements among themselves, we have to decide which of these statements are true and which of these statements are false. So let us look into the question what they are telling us to do. So they are telling us to do how many statements are exactly false. So you have to decide out of these three statements, how many statements are false and how many statements are true. So how we can start with this question? And we are going to start with assumptions. We will assume a particular thing, and if that particular assumption holds true, we can say for sure that like we have reached our answer. If that particular assumption does not hold true, we will take another assumption or we will make another example and try out each of these segments. So let us check. So let us imagine that this first statement is true. There is exactly one false statement. So this statement is true. If this statement is true, there are exactly two false statements. If there is one false statement, and then again we are saying that two false statements, and if this is true, and this has to be false. Fine. And again, there are exactly three false statements. We already know that this is true. So there cannot be exactly three false statements. So this is false. So if we look into the conclusions that we have drawn from marking up the true, false, and thing, so we can see there is not exactly one false statement. There are exactly two false statements. So like these statements are trapping in the lies itself. So this particular assumption is false. So the first statement is not true. This first statement is actually false. So those who have got little bit lost, let us take it from the top again. So what we are doing here is that we are assuming this particular statement is false. If this particular statement, sorry, there is exactly one false statement, so we are assuming that this particular statement is true. Fine. If this first statement is true, then two false statement, this statement will be false, and three false statement will again be false. And if we look into the bigger picture, we see that there is only one true statement and two false statement. So this assumption is wrong. So now let us make another assumption. Let us assume that this second statement is true. If our second statement is true, there is exactly one false statement. It is actually false because there are two false statements and we have assumed this to be true. There are exactly three false statements. So again, this will be false. And if we look into the bigger picture, we are actually getting two false statements and one true statement. So this statement is actually true. This statement is false, and this statement is false. So how many statements are exactly false? two statements are exactly false. Now let us make another last assumption and check if whatever we have concluded is true or not. Let us assume that this last statement is true. There are three false statements. So let us assume that this is true. If this is true, three false statement is true, then two false statements will be false and one false statement will be false. And if you look into the bigger picture, like three false statement, we are saying that there are exactly three false statement, but we are getting two false statement. So we can say assuming this particular statement to be true is an faulty assumption. So we cannot conclude this one. So only this particular statement, only the second statement is true. First statement is false and the second statement is false. So our result is true because there are exactly two false statements. I hope this question was clear to you. Now let us go to the fourth question. Fine. Fourth question is again an arrangement question. But instead of left to right arrangement, we have to arrange the runners from fastest to slowest. We have to arrange the runners starting from the fastest runner to the slowest runner. So let us see how we can actually do this one. So there are actually five runners, and let us find out that their names. We have P, one runner, and there is B, there is another runner, and then we have R, another runner, then we have W, another runner, and we have Y, then we have another runner. And to arrange them from fastest to slowest, there have to be five slots. So this is first slot, this is second slot, this is third slot, this is fourth slot, and this is fifth slot. This slot is reserved for the fastest person, and this slot is reserved for the slowest person. Now let us start with the first statement and try our assumptions. P finished faster than B. So P will come before B. And how, I don't know how many places, but I just know that P is faster than B. The smallest difference in finishing times between P was between P and R. The smallest difference in finishing times was between P and R. That means P and R finished closed with each other. So either R came fast, R came before P. This is one possibility, or R came after P, and they are actually very close competitors. Fine. Now, the largest and the largest difference in finishing times between R and W. So R and W are farthest from each other, and to be farthest from each other, or to have the largest difference between them, W has to like W has to come here and R has to come here, or vice versa, like R has to come here and P has to come here. Sorry, R and W has to come here. Now let us think. We have P, we have P, and after P we have B. Fine. And to have the farthest difference, R has to come after P, but it is not possible. Fine. If R comes after P, then it is going to be slower than P. So we can say that R comes here and W will come here. That way, R and W will have the farthest difference between them, and P and R has the smallest difference between them. So P is going to come here. Now B can come here or B can come here. I don't know. The only thing that I know about B is that B came after P. So B is slower than B. So as to decide the position of B, let us look into the fourth statement. So what they are saying in the fourth statement, they are saying in the fourth statement is that Y finished either first or third. Either Y came first or either Y came last. Y came third, but Y cannot come first because R has already in this position. So Y is definitely third, and if Y is third, then B is in the fourth position. So the final results of the race are, we have R, we have E, we have Y, we have B, and we have W. R is the fastest person, then P is the second fastest person, Y is the third fastest person, B is the second slowest, and W is the slowest person. So we have arranged all this runner from fastest to slowest position. So I hope this type of working was clear to you. So now let us go to the next question. Again, this is an liar based question. So there is two girls, and this first girl says, I am Phoebe, and this second girl says, I am Rachel. At least one of the at least one of the friends is lying. One of them is lying. At least one of them is lying. Fine. So let us assume that we have Phoebe. Let us assume that Phoebe is telling the truth and she is actually Phoebe. That means she has to lie. And by lying, she's saying that she's saying that my name is Rachel. But this is not possible. This is not possible. So either both of them are lying or either both of them are telling the truth. So now let us revise this concept one. At least one of the friends are lying. At least one of the friends are lying. So if one of the friends are lying, so let us assume that Phoebe is lying. If Phoebe is lying and Phoebe is saying I am Phoebe, that means she is not Phoebe, she is actually Rachel. And when Rachel says Rachel is my name, so she's Phoebe, so actually she's also lying. So both of them are lying. So Rachel says I'm Phoebe, so she's actually Rachel, and Rachel is saying Rachel is my name, so she is actually Phoebe. Both of the friends are lying. So what is the color of Phoebe's dress? So Phoebe is this one. So Phoebe is wearing black color dress. Fine. So like we can just revise this once. Actually, these are little bit tricky concept. That is why I'm repeating them over and over again so that you grasp the concept properly. So it is saying that at least one of the friends are lying, and let us assume that this first person is lying. And as because she's lying, she is saying I am Phoebe, so she's lying, she's not Phoebe, so she will be Rachel. But this second person is saying Rachel is my name, but she is Rachel, so she is also lying. So she is also lying, her name is Phoebe. She is Rachel, she is Phoebe. So what is the color of Phoebe's dress? Phoebe's dress color is black, so B is the correct option. So this was our question. So now this is a Venn diagram based question, and this is actually an interesting question. So let us read the question properly first and see what they are actually telling us to do. In a certain school, in a certain school, each of the 160 student takes at least one of the three classes. Three classes available are English, Hindi, Spanish. 54 students study English, 86 study Hindi, 6 study Spanish, and 8 students take all the 3 classes. How many take exactly 2 classes? So before going forward with this question, let us make a Venn diagram. We have one circle for one subject, we have another circle for another subject, and we have another circle for another subject. We have 3 circles. So let us assume that this first circle represents the number of people who have taken English examination, and this second circle represents the number of people who have taken Hindi as a subject, and this last circle represents all the people who have taken Spanish. And we know that 8 students have taken all 3 classes. So 8 students have taken all 3 classes. Fine. Now we can mark these circles or mark these sectors. This sector is E, this sector is B, this is C, this is D, this is E, and this is F. And we have to find how many of these students have taken exactly 2 classes. How many students have exactly taken 2 classes? So B is the sector that represent people who have taken exactly 2 classes, plus E and plus D gives us the total number of people who have taken exactly 2 classes, and we have to find the sum of B plus E plus D. So from this first information, let us frame our first equation. So what will be our first equation? We can write A plus B plus C plus D plus E plus F and plus 8 equal to 160. Why? Because there are like total 160 students, and we can simplify it and write in the next step A plus B plus C plus D plus E plus F equal to 152, and let this be equation number 1. Let us frame the rest of the equation. They are saying that 54 students study English. So this is the circle representing the number of students studying English. So how many students are studying English? A plus B plus E plus 8 equal to total number of students who are studying English, that is equal to 54. And I can simplify it and write A plus B plus E equal to 46. Let this be our equation number 1. Now let us go to this another equation. 86 study Hindi. So 86 people are studying Hindi. So what do we have? We have B plus C plus D plus 8 equal to 86. So what is our final result? We have B plus C plus D equal to 78. This is equation number 3. Fine, this will be an equation number 2. I have mistakenly written as 1. This is equation number 2. Now, let us look into the last equation. Last equation we have E plus 8 plus B plus F, and this is equal to 53. Sorry, like 20, total 61. So the final answer will be E plus D plus F equal to 53. So this is our equation number 4. So we have formulated or we have exhausted all the information that was available in the question. And now we have to think and find out the sum of B plus E plus D. So actually how we can do this. Now let us look into equation number 2, equation number 2, 3 and 4. In equation number 2 we have A, equation number 3 we have B, and then we have C, then we have D, then we have E, then we have F. So let us add equation number 2, 3 and 4. If we add equation number 2, 3 and 4, let us see what we are getting. Adding equation number 2, 3 and 4. If we add equation number 2, 3 and 4, we are going to get A plus B plus E. This is our first part. Then B plus C plus D. This is our second part. And E plus D plus F. This is our third part. And these three equations, if we add them, we get 46 plus 78 plus 53. We are going to add them later. So let us just check once. We have A, B, and E. We have A, B, and E. Then we have B, C, and D. We have B, C, and D. And then we have E, D, and F. We have E, D, and F. Now let us start finding out the common terms. We have A. Let us write A plus. We have 1B. So we have accounted this one. So we have 1B. We are going to write 1B. Now we are searching for a C. We have a C here. So we are going to write C. Now we are searching for a D. We are going to write D here. We are searching for a E. We are going to write E. And now we are searching for an F. So we are writing F here. Whatever left in the equation, we are left in the equation with B plus D plus E. This is the exact sum we really want. And if we add 46, 78, and 53, I get 177. Now, what is A plus B plus C plus D plus E plus F? A plus B plus C plus D plus E plus F is actually equal to 152 plus B plus D plus F equal to 177. And like if we simplify this one, we are going to get B plus D plus F, B plus D plus F as equal to 25. This is our final result. So out of this four option, we can say that total 25 students take exactly two of the classes. So this was an interesting question or interesting way of doing a particular question. We can try another question. So now let us go into the question number 7. It is a similar set-based question. So first we are going to underline the information that we know. We are going to make the equations from the information we have know. Then we are going to find out new relationships. It is saying that we have total 450 students in a college. Each student has to choose one or more elective out of management, history, and physics. Further following information is also known. 75 students selected only management and physics. So before I dive into this information, let us make the set diagram. We have one circle and we have one circle. We have another circle. Let us make some bigger circles so that we can write numbers inside it. We have one circle we have another circle, and we have another circle. It is very important to visualize this question. So they are saying that 75%, let us just mark them first. So this is management, this is management, this is history, and we have physics. These are the three sets. Fine. 75 students selected only management. 75 students selected only management and physics. So only management and physics is this part of the set. So I'm going to write 75 here. 84 students selected management and history. Management and history is this part, so I'm going to write 84 here. We'll just clean it and write it properly. So this is 84, and 52 students selected only physics and history. So physics and history will be 52. The number of students who selected history, number of students who selected only history is 137, less than the number of students who selected only management. So let us just imagine, let us just imagine that number of students who selected management is y, only management is y, so number of students selecting history will be y minus 137. So actually I have written it in the reverse order. It will be 137 minus y. In total, 238 students selected management as an elective, and 240 students have selected history as an elective. So nothing is said about the number of students who have selected all the subjects. So let us mark it at X, and let us mark it at Z. Let us not concentrate on the question first. When you are doing the actual question in the NQT examination hall, do not consider extra variables. But as because I'm teaching you, or as because we are learning how to solve these kinds of question, so we have to go, or we will go a little beyond the question and see all the information or all the knowledge that is related to this particular part of the question. So they are saying that total 238 students selected management as an elective. So the total number of students selecting management as an elective will be x plus y. X plus y plus 84 plus 75 is equal to 238. And if we simplify this equation, we are going to get x plus y equal to 79, if I'm not wrong. So this is our equation number 1. Let it be. Now let us consider the equation number 2. Equation number 2 will be total of 240 students selected history as an elective. So what we have? We have 84 plus x plus 137 minus y plus 52 is equal to 240. And if we simplify this particular equation, we are going to get y minus x equal to y minus x equal to 33. This is our second equation. Now let us see what they are actually asking in the question. How many students selected both management and physics? Both management and physics as an elective. How many students have selected both management and physics? So we have to actually find this part of our set diagram. And to find this part of the set diagram, this question can be easily summarized as 75 plus x. We have to find this number. That means we have to find the value for x. We have two equations. What are the two equations? We have x plus y equal to 79, y plus x is equal to 33. Now, do not try to find y, and finding y will be a mistake. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to subtract. I'm going to subtract equation 1 minus equation 2. That way, I'm reading out or I'm taking out the value of y, and we are left with only the value of x. And x is the value we actually want in the question. So we are going to write equation 1 is x plus y, and equation 2 is y minus x. So this will be minus y plus x, and at this second part of the equal to, we are going to have 79 minus 33. So this y and this y is cancelled. So we have taken out the y from the equation. We are left with only x. So 2x is equal to 79 plus 33. We have this 12. 12 carry 1. We have like, I'm adding it. So this will be 6, and this will be 46. So x will be 23. So if x is 23, so the total number of students studying both management and physics will be 75 plus 23. That gives us 8, and that gives us 98. So this is going to be an option number 5. But just hold on, we have found out the value for x. Let us find out the value for y. So the value for y will be y minus 23 equal to 33. So y is going to be like 33 plus 23. 23, 23 plus 33, we have 56. So this will be 56. So let us write in red so that you can remember. This will be 56. So if this is 56, this part will be 137 minus 56. We have 81, and x is 23. So we are only left with z. So if you are only left with z, you can easily find out the value for z. We know that there are total 450 students. 450 students means 56 plus 84, 84 plus 81 plus 23 plus 75 plus 52 plus z is equal to 450. And using this thing, you can easily find out the value for x. We can actually find out. So 56 plus we have 84 plus 81 plus 23 plus 75 plus 52 is equal to 371, and 450 minus 371 is 79. I guess I have done all the calculations correctly. So we will have, where am I? We will have this as 79. So the final set after removing all these extra variables will be, let us remove this y, let us remove this x, and let us remove this thing, and let us remove this thing. So we have 56, 84, 23, 75, 52, 81, and 79. Once we have actually done this, we can answer any type of questions or any number of questions based on this following set. Okay, so I think and I hope that I was clear in this explanation. If I have done any mistake in the calculation, please let me know in the comment sections below. And if you have any problem in understanding concepts that I'm teaching today, please feel free to communicate with me or to contact with me in the Telegram group, or you can just comment in the comment section, and I will surely reply and I will surely give you a feedback. So now let us go to the second question. Eighth questions. So what is the eighth questions here? So they are telling us that there are total 350 people living in a particular village. There are three kinds of drinks, same type of questions. And whenever we have seen these three kinds of drink, we are going to make a set diagram. We are going to make a very simple set diagram. We have tea, we have coffee, and we have hot chocolate. So one circle for tea, one circle for coffee, and one circle for hot chocolate. So let us imagine that this is for tea. Let us imagine this is for coffee. And let us imagine this is for hot chocolate. Fine. Let us try to look into the information from the start. So total 120 people like tea, and 160 people like coffee. 46 people like all three drinks. So 46 will come here. 62 people like both tea and hot chocolate. 62 people like tea and hot chocolate. That means we can say that we can just imagine that this part to be an x. So we can say x plus 46 equal to 62. X plus 46 is the total number of people who like both tea and hot chocolate. And we know that 46 people like all the three combinations or all the three drinks. So from here we can find out the value for x, and x is going to be like 46. We have 46, and we have 62 both like tea and hot chocolate. So this is 62. We have 4, sorry, I'm doing it reverse. 46. So we have this 6, and we have this 16. So let us erase this rest of the rough work, and we can just write 16 in place of x. I'm not going to increase the number of variables that we have to deal with. So I'm just going to write 16 here directly. Fine. 53 people like both hot chocolate and coffee. 53 people like both hot chocolate and coffee. So we can directly write 7 here. Why? Because 7 plus 46 is 53. And 89 people like tea and coffee. Tea and coffee. So here I can write 43. Because 43 plus 43 plus 46 gives us 89. So we have found out this one. So now what else do we know? So let us mark it as A and let us mark it as B. So what do we know from this part? We know that A plus 43 plus 46 plus 16 is equal to 120. And from this particular thing, we can actually find out the value for A, and we also know that 43 plus b plus 7 plus 46 gives us how much? 160, and we can find the value for b. So in the question they have only asked to find out the value for like how many people like E. So we like finding the value of A is sufficient. So value of A is like value of A is 120 minus 43 plus 46 plus 16. So this gives us 43 plus 46 plus 16 gives us 105, and 105, 120 minus 105 gives us 15. So A is equal to 15. So I can just write here as A. We can also find the value for B. So 7 plus 43 is 50. 50 plus 46 is 96. 160 minus 96 is 64. So the value for B is 64. So let us just erase this markings. So now that we have found out everything and we know there are 350 people living in the village, you can add everything and you can find the value for the number of people who like only hot chocolate. So I'm not going to invest any more time in calculating this stuff. You can just find out and check if my calculation is correct or not. So number of people who like only hot chocolate is 159. Okay, so this was our whole thing, and once you have found out the whole thing, you can do any kind of questions from this particular part. Now again, finding everything is not necessary. They have only wanted to know the number of people who like only tea. So finding out the value for A is sufficient. So I would suggest you to read the question properly first, then make a systematic marking or systematic diagram of all the information that is available in the question, and then decide what is the shortest way to reach to that particular conclusion. It is going to require, or it is going to need some considerable amount of practice. Invest on practicing questions so that you can solve a lot more questions in the TCS NQT examination. One thing that you have to remember in TCS NQT, that if we go past a question, like you have already seen a question and if you have answered or haven't answered that question, you cannot return back to that question again. So it is very necessary that you decide that yes, I'm going to solve this question. You solve this question and then go to the next one. Fine. Now let us go to the ninth question. What they're saying is that suppose you are visiting an island with knights who always tell the truth, knaves who always lie, and joker who can do either. You meet three Icelanders, Ellis, Perrin, and Gobi. They all know what others are, a knight, knave, or a joker, and make the following statements. If exactly one of them is a joker, how many knights are present here? So we have actually, or we have to actually find out how many people are lying in this particular situation. Fine. We will start with an assumption. There is exactly one joker, and joker can lie or joker can tell the truth. Okay, so everyone is saying that Farin is a joker, Gobi is a joker, Ellis is a joker. If there is exactly one of them is a joker, then how many knights are there? We have to tell them. Fine. So let us assume that this particular statement is true. A knight always tells the truth. So this, if this particular statement is true, that means Farin is a joker. Like then Gobi is a joker is a lie, and Ellis is a joker is also a lie. That means all the joker that are present in this particular group are actually lying. So how many lies are there? He is lying and he is lying. If Farin is a joker, if Farin is a joker here, that means Gobi is not a joker and Ellis is not a joker. So this Farin, or sorry, this Ellis should be your knight, and this can be your knave, and this can be your joker. Again, this can be knave or joker, or this can be joker or a knave. So I have assumed that Farin is actually telling the truth. You can always assume the other way around also, then also you are going to get the same result. So let us see here, like what is our answer? How many nights are there? There is exactly one night. One night. So now let us try to do that question by assuming that whatever Gobi is saying is true. Let us imagine that he is telling the truth. Okay. Then Alice is the joker and Alice is lying. That means Gobi is not a joker. Gopi is a knight, so he is also lying. That means one of them is knight, and he can be joker or a knave, and he also can be joker or a knave. So, anyways, we are going to get only one knight only. So this is our final answer. So now let us go to the last question, and it is a very interesting one. We have three boxes. Fine. Only one of the box contains gold, and only one of the statement is true. Out of this three statement, only one of the statement is true, and only one of the box contains gold. So like we have to find out which of the box contains gold. So let us assume, again we start with our assumption. Let us assume that the gold is in this box. Let us assume that this is our true statement. The gold is in this box. If it is true, then we go to this one. This gold is not in this box. This should be also true. The gold is not in box one. This should be your false. So we have assumed this thing. We have assumed this to be true. And according to this assumption, we have concluded if this is true or this is false or not. Now, only one statement is true. But if we assume this first statement to be true, we are getting two true statements. So this assumption is wrong. And if this assumption is wrong, we can say that our first statement or the first label is wrong, or first statement is false. So this is our false statement. That means gold is not in this box. Fine. If this is false, the gold is not in this box. The gold is not in this box. Let us assume this to be true. The gold is not in box one. Obviously, the gold is not in this box because this is false. Fine. Now, let us think. This is false. The gold is in this box. The gold is not in this box. If this is true, the gold is not in box one. This is also false. So this statement is also not telling us like which of the boxes contains our gold. This. So we are going to our last assumption. Let us assume that this to be true. The gold is not in the box one. So this is false, and the gold is not in this box, so this is also false. Now, like we have returned to the first statement only. So gold is in this box. If this is false, so this box contains no gold. The gold is not in this box, and if this is false, that means this box contains gold. And if this box contains gold, this box won't contain gold. So box number 2 contains gold. And this is our final answer. So whenever you are dealing with truth and lie question, it is always important that assume that one of the boxes or one of the statement is true and depending or assuming that statement to be true, find out the validity of rest of the statement. If the rest of the statements hold true, or if the rest of the statement is valid on the face of our assumption, we can say, or we can say that we have reached our conclusion. So that was all for today. I have compiled or I have curated some more questions of similar kind in the quiz part or the practice part. Please go through that quiz and tell me if you have any doubt or not. So as to access that quiz, you can go to www.campusprep.com and find out all the materials that is present here. And if you want to communicate with me, share your ideas, show me your calculation, then you can join our Telegram group. You can also follow our Instagram and Facebook page. Okay, sorry, this is Instagram and this is Facebook page, and for regular updates. So I hope that everything that I taught you today is clear. So this weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, we are going to do some revision work, and how this revision will take place, you will get to know it later. So keep a tab on this channel, subscribe to this channel, keep a tab on the Instagram channel. So I will announce the revision schedule there. So till then, see you on Friday. Good day, goodbye.